you know, and good things are happening. Some good positive announcements today. I'm going to announce, you know, that we have a signing next week with U.S. Fish and Wildlife here. It'll be held at the casino on June 4th. Everyone is invited. We're going to be signing an MOA with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife on the starting process of 638 the Tamarack Refuge. So that's something that's very exciting for the tribe, that we're going to eventually run our own refuge. So, but in due time, this all falls in line with getting the land back too. So that's something that's a good thing for all of us, that Tamarack is moving forward, you know. And I guess the other good announcement that we have today is, like, we're going to be having a sale for one of the other nations is going to be buying cannabis from us. So it's going to be good. So I want to talk about our cannabis business, you know, that we're doing. And then I know Andrea sent Lisa Bruner finalized her statement that she's going to put in the Anishinaabe edition, that the regulatory board is hitting on it, and they're working on the code to have pilot programs in there for our membership to grow and to sell cannabis too. So these are some big things that we're moving forward with. Because you got to remember, guys, that our cannabis company is underneath. Of course, us, we're the owners. All of us in the room that are members are owners of this company, but the enterprises board oversees them. So I know that we're making some big positive strides with that. Like I said, the forest, the Tamarack Refuge, that's going to be a big thing for next week. And like I said, everyone is invited next week on the comments to witness that. That's going to be historical. So I want to say much and thank you for everyone for being here today and being part of our meeting. So, but that said, I can call the meeting to order. It is 9:33 a.m. Michael, do you want to do roll call, please? This is a dead battery, yeah.
District 1. Here. District 2. Here. District 3.
Here.
And I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
We have a quorum, Miigwech, thank you. Next up is review and approval of the agenda. Any additions, deletions, council? Oh.
I'd like to add a discussion, possible sponsorship in executive session. Okay.
I know Andrea has a couple too.
Chairman, I'd like to request adding, business, the table grant. And also to do business. Minneapolis land special and Chuck Hilbert.
Okay.
And then, under executive session, I would.
Just now.
Correct. Section C, call the discussion of the task force. And also add an item, under executive session, for a requested agreement from law enforcement.
Okay, hearing no more Make the motion, go to the agenda.
Motion.
Motion by Eugene. Second by Henry. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up is a review and approval of the meeting minutes for 2/28/24, 3/29/24, 4/26/24, and 5/9/24.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
Four of them?
Yep, I read them all.
They're all good.
They are, I didn't.
Not to say that you didn't read on any, but any other council motion?
I read them.
Believe you, Annie.
I did, I come early.
Finance committee.
Yeah. Chairman, I'll second that. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion on the meeting minutes for the board. Motion for 2/28/24, 3/29/24, 4/26/24, and 5/9/24. Motion by Annie, second by Mike. All in favor?
I,
All four of them, or?
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next up is, we have the wife and the elders here that want to do an update for the elders council.
He was here, but he has training next door, so.
Okay. All right, and then the elders commission, anyone from the commission here?
I just kind of say.
I just want to say that we got our, flyer announcement will be in the Amish Highway paper for our election for the commission. We'll be having we need 2 reps from District 2 and an at-large, and that was submitted to the Amish Highway paper. We'll be having filing June 17th through July 1st, and our election will be August 12th.
Rich, thank you for that. And yeah, I think I did see something in the paper. That's good. All right. Next up is, we have no old business. Well, we have new business with the TIPO grant.
The annual funding, federal grant that our typical requests every year, so there's nothing that's new or unusual about this grant applications. He's just seeking out the votes we recently.
Legal's okay with it? I see you guys didn't sign off on it. Are we good?
Yes.
Didn't do any good. All right, motion to approve the TIPO grant.
Motion.
Motion by Eugene,
Second.
second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is Chuck Dilger from the urban office, and then he wants to talk about land. I know the mayor of Minneapolis, you know, put out a statement here a while back to all the tribal nations that he's willing to do some land. How do you say it? Land acquisitions from the city at no price, as long as the tribe can utilize it in a good way. Chuck, do you want to say a few words?
Yes, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, we're in a meeting, so speak loud, speak clearly, be good.
In late December or beginning of this year, the city of Minneapolis, in an attempt to address some of the homelessness issues, which we know affects our urban natives and relatives more than other populations, had reached out to the tribes and different organizations with an offer to do a land transfer of existing properties that they have under it would be a government to government land transfer. And the agreement would be that the tribe would stand up a program that would support recovery from substance use disorder and mental health issues and wellness, and also help reduce and address the homeless and unsheltered issue for our population in the metro. At this point, we've had some preliminary discussions with the mayor's office. We met yesterday. They presented one property to us that is located on the corridor, Columbus and Franklin. For those of you that might not be really familiar with the area, it's near Franklin and Chicago, which is a pretty hot area. And the potential there would be, it's about a half a city block. The area would be the equivalent of maybe 6 lots, all told. And then the next steps would be, if we're willing to consider going forward with them, if the RBC approves, we would have discussions about what that program might look like and what we could put there. My initial thought, which has not really we haven't pushed it forward at all, would be to offer something in a residential care model in the metro, because housing is a huge issue. So we could use it while people were in residential treatment, and then perhaps transitional housing while they continued in a step-down model into our outpatient SUD and mental health programs.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to, just to add to this, I would like to read the letter that Mayor Fry sent us. It says, I'll start out with, just says, greetings. Writing you today in light of a recent conversation and ongoing work to find new solutions that support people experiencing unsheltered homelessness, especially for our Indigenous community members. As we continue to confront this acute challenge together, we are seeking your partnership. The City of Minneapolis has identified city-owned land that we would like to make available to tribal partners, potentially in collaboration with local service providers, to ultimately use in service of filling gaps in our current system, providing culturally specific support for our homeless population. Since the formation of the wall of forgotten natives in 2018, the city of Minneapolis has been targeting innovative ways to help and support our community members experiencing unsheltered homelessness. This goes beyond the traditional role of a municipality and has stretched the city to provide services and support in ways the city has not done before. We are committed to continuing this work on behalf of our residents. We also know there are gaps we cannot fill as quickly as the needed demands. One of the identified gaps in the current system is a lack of native, focused and culturally sensitive homelessness support. We know that Indigenous individuals are 26 times more likely to experience homelessness than other white-bodied peers, and specifically that solution has been more effective when culturally based elements are incorporated. Specifically, we are identifying the need to advance project focuses on substance use treatment recovery, transitional housing, and mental health capacity within Minnesota. As mentioned above, the city has identified city-owned land that could be available to tribal partners. And we are willing to discuss next steps to find a land transfer or sale to the tribal governments. Tribal governments individually are in partnership with other tribes. Urban Indigenous organizations and are experienced services providers and operators. The city can also provide technical assistance for sites identification, guidance through the development process, and support to seek additional funding from state, federal, and philanthropy partners. Then it says we are open to exploring an opportunity, please respond, blah, blah, blah. Dare I say blah, blah, blah? But we plan on setting up a meeting the second week, and I think Chuck, you have already made that meeting already happen, already. So be with you.
Thank you, Mike. So Chuck, so we identified some parcels that we could possibly be looking at obtaining.
You, Chuck.
You're on mute.
Chairman, just a quick, that was Mayor Fry. That letter's from Mayor Fry.
Thank you.
In our meeting yesterday, Alfred with the city planning division we agreed to send us a list of the properties. I think many of them are going to turn out to be single lots and perhaps not as attractive per se. The larger lot makes sense. That was the one they presented yesterday. And then Jacob and I, Sagerson and I, plan to go over the list in case there was anything of specific interest that was available, and let them know. The city has asked that we just keep that list private, not make it public between, beyond our group until such a time that we had some agreement or something moving forward.
Thank you, Chuck. I know it sounds exciting, with the mayor trying to work with the nations, to work with the tribes, and find ways of, for ourselves as White Nation being innovators in this field that, something that like this could help, decrease the amount of homeless down there and help our people, get help and services they need. So it's something that looking forward to having these more conversations and finding out what areas are going to be more beneficial to us than other areas, I guess. And I think that's important that we stay on top of this because we do need services down here too for our membership. So thank you, Chuck. Big Rich.
Big Rich.
Mr. Chairman, I got one quick question. I know down in the urban office, I know a lot of the tribes, they want to, the collaboration down there should get a lot better. We should get a lot better down there collaboration with all the other tribes. We're stronger as a people if we collaborate with all the other tribes down there. So I don't know, Chuck, if you had any insight on that to where we could maybe collaborate with the other tribes that are all, like Red Lake and Leech Lake and Mille Lacs and all the other 6 bands and pretty much all 11 bands. If we could just collaborate with them on, I think we'd be much stronger if we did that. So anyway.
Absolutely. So, I've been in this role for 4 months, but one of my focus has been to integrate into the community. Certainly, I've helped develop programs at Red Lake, obviously, as well as White Earth in the past, and working with other tribes, being part of the mud group, just being more involved. I think there are a lot of opportunities. I met with somebody from the AICDC yesterday. They have housing, but they don't have a treatment program. And I asked them, why are we not collaborating more? Why are we not working together? Incidentally, this property is just down the street from AICDC, so or 1800 Chicago, as some of you may know it. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of opportunity. I certainly have recognized some hesitancy between the tribes to collaborate as people try and make their programs very sustainable. I also think this fits really well into what we have going on in Urban Now in the long-term plan. If we move forward with the changes that are being proposed at our Clifton Place location, we'll need the mansions to house those programs if we do a remodel of the third floor. But once that's complete, I certainly could see us unloading, selling off the mansions. I don't know that long-term they have any additional benefit for us, especially if we can do this land transfer and do a residential program. We would be so much busier and have so many more participants if we had a residential or some type of housing type system. And I know that's being considered and looked at, but I think this could all fit into the plan. I'm going to continue to work into the community and work with my team at the urban programs to get them more integrated. We have several people that are already very involved, but we're going to be inserting ourselves into some boards, and that'll give us a lot more connection as well. So I agree, better together, 100%. But there is some proprietary issues where people want to remain separate until they're, to make sure their programs sustain as well. Miigwech.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you for that. All right, any questions for Chuck? Okay, moving on next to the agenda is we have the consent agenda. Okay, I'll read the consent agenda on because we have behavioral health, we have the Summit Fire Protection contracts, we have the affiliation agreement between White Earth Mental Health and Minnesota University of Moorhead resolution, the Becker County Mental Health and Mobile Crisis Grant, which is $120,000. For education, we have some child care licenses, variances, and renewals. For amendment, we have COLA VIE School Operation Grant. We have the Bush Foundation Community Innovation Grant for IEFA. Adult Basic Education State FIN 322 and Federal FIN 438 for 2025 and 2024. We have videography services contract. We have the Office of the Head Start Continuation Grant application. For enrollments, we have the proposed request for new enrollment members initiative. That was something that I think we talked about this a few times, and we're looking at doing a $200 for enrolling your newly enrolled children. So we're going to have a date that'll be coming out here probably very soon with more information on that. So we're trying to get more of our kids enrolled into the system, because right now some of them are kind of out there floating around. So we want to pump that up to get our children enrolled. So that's a good thing coming. The White Earth Family Treatment Kitchen remodel, contracts and award, Oshkie Money Due, Mid Lodge demolition contract, Jack Hallman's acute care generator design contract and award, White Earth Nation Forestry and Woodland Fire, H&R septic design. We have the Rice Lake Tiny Homes carpentry notice of award. We have the 206 and 210 Main Street Monoman demolition notice. We have the for health department We have Department of Health and Human Services, receivable license and use of real property, EFT authorization and letter for Medicaid Part B enrollments. Human Services, we have the Whiteearth Child Support Budget 2025 resolution. We have the first preference business located in the Whiteearth Reservation owners enrolled in Whiteearth. We have 477 program funding renewal. We have the Office of Victims and Crimes Tribal Victim Services set aside and resolution. For legal, we have 4 LLC requests. And for natural resources, we have a letter of travel support for the University of Minnesota Vet School. We have JT storage rental agreement. We have Cargill for Philanthropy Wildrice Award. We have NRCS equipped contract and resolution. We have the Navy Center agreement and resolution. Now for the ratifications that we did earlier this week, we have economic development. We have the SCT grant application. We have the Public Works Highway 113 sole source contract and Public Works with the State of Minnesota Master Partnership. So that's it, Council. Any questions on the consent agenda? Otherwise, I'll be asking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, we have a couple, the enrollment one, I think we're gonna have to table that because with finance, we have some other questions that we have to take care of first before we do that, the enrollment one. So, and I don't know if Andrea wants to add to it or not, but I think we should table that one until maybe the next meeting. I know it's an important issue, but, we want to do it right. We want to make sure it's done right, that it's done right again. So the other one is I was going through the LLCs and we have one application that is incomplete. So that one's gonna have to be completed. They're gonna have to complete their application before I want to move forward on that one. So, and I believe that one, okay. Yeah.
You use your abbreviations, I guess.
Okay. It's HS.
Okay.
That's number 3 on legal. It just, I reviewed the application and it's incomplete, so you'll have to get it complete before we can move forward.
Okay, hearing that with changes, motion to approve
Mr.
it.
Chairman, I'm so sorry, may I? I would like to move the consent agenda, behavioral health, mental health, Becker County Mental Health Mobile Crisis Grant to executive session for further discussion.
Also agree with that? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll move that to, motion to approve the consent agenda with the changes. Motion by Andy.
Second.
Second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is our executive session, and we'll motion for that, but then we'll take, I know we have a band member here that wants to say a few words. So motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Motion by Eugene.
Second.
Second by Annie. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you everyone for being on YouTube today and listening to our meeting, and it's really good weather out there. Stay safe. We're probably moving forward. Powell's coming up. And one thing I want to talk about too, the elections are coming up June 11th. Make sure you get out and vote. Exercise your constitutional right. You.
We got a question here about just enrollment. How are we coming on enrollment? Accepting Canada, Wisconsin, those, besides Minnesota, are we accepting? How's that coming about yet?
Okay, I think me and Mike sit on the TEC line, and I know that, our delegation, Whiteearth delegation, the 10 delegates that we have moved forward. We moved forward with 3215. That was back in 2015. And that's where they allowed all other Ojibwe blood to come in. But then Leech Lake, how do you say it?
Mr. Chairman, the correction was, it's not Canadian blood though, it's just United States. It's not allowing Canadian blood, it's just United States. 3215 is allowing any other Ojibwe blood in the state, in the USA, not Canada.
But that got tabled too.
That got people.
Yeah, you know, it's so foolish about the raw Anishinaabe from Hudson Bay, Carolinas, Minnesota to New York, we're all Anishinaabe, Ojibwe. You know, that's the name that these missionaries come traveling to here, and that's a fact through their archives over there in France that goes back 200 and 300 years.
Yep.
You know, so I don't know how in the hell it was dismissed by not allowing Canada when we should have a voice in that. You know, I got a sister-in-law that's from Canada, and like to get her kids enrolled somewhere or another. You know, she was the one that were taken as a youth away from their parents because they said their parents couldn't take her. But right now, she just got a $40,000 check along with their kids, $30,000 from Canada for doing what they did to them. You know, but I kind of to see that fact that they're just throwing away Canadian people like that. Are we using that mentality again about those boundaries, the white man's boundaries? Is that where we're going with this? You know, I like to have some kind of a response. You know, we should bring on our own.
Mr. Chairman, can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
At the TC meeting in Grand Portage, towards the end of the meeting, Leech Lake wanted to go on their own and do 3215 on their own, which the TEC wasn't allowed to let them do that because because as the MCT, it was bottled up with the secretarial election. We have to have a secretarial election and get 30% of our eligible, but there was a definition of what 30% meant. So we've been dragging our feet on, they've been dragging our feet between our wheels on that. So what they finally proposed is that we could, and back in 2015, there was an option to eliminate the secretary election. There was. The tribes didn't take that option at that time. And this is Kevin Dukas was talking. If you want to go back and look at the TVC meeting, I know it's recorded. He brought it up that back in 2015, I believe, there was an option to do that. We didn't do it at that time, but it didn't say we couldn't still do it. But by eliminating the secretarial election, it gives the MCT and the tribes to be able to move forward without having all these restraints that we're having right now with the secretarial election. So what happened is at that meeting, they did a vote to remove the secretarial election, to look at removing the secretarial election from the whole process. They're not removing the Secretary of Interior, they're just moving the secretarial election process. So what happens, they voted to look at it in July, the July meeting. There wasn't a resolution on the table for it. We couldn't do that quick. So now in July, they have a resolution that the MCT is going to vote on whether they want to remove the secretarial election from the whole process. And that's what's been holding everything up is that secretarial election, because the definition of 30% of eligible voters, of people who vote, there's a big, and the BIA is involved in this also, to say that what we need for 30% to get a secretarial election pushed through. So that's, in a nutshell, that's as quick as I can say it. That's what happened in the meeting in Grand Portage. Come July, it would probably be in your best interest to be at that meeting in July, because that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that, and we have a resolution coming forward. Whiter constitutional delegates talked a little bit about it when we were at it this last meeting they had. So us as a nation, we have to find out from not only our delegate, but we got to figure out from our membership whether we want to support this or not. So I mean, I could have an opinion on it, and Chairman and you guys can have an opinion on it. But as a whole tribe, we want to understand what exactly we're doing here by removing the secretary election. And my definition of it is, when I talked to Kevin Dukas, was that we would be able to, if a band wanted to change a certain, like, enrollment, say Whiters wanted to change their enrollment, like you're talking about, they wanted to allow Canadian blood, correct? So we could propose that to the body of the MCT with our memberships. If we went out and did a referendum vote for our membership, and they said, yes, we want to include Canadian blood in our enrollment, if that's what we wanted to do. But we couldn't do it on our own. We'd have to go to the MCT and get a vote from the MCT to do it, instead of going to the secretary election, instead of going to the federal government doing it. In a nutshell, that's as quickly as I can explain it. So
And, I guess the questions that we had for, our delegation, it goes both ways. And the thing that they stressed a lot is the checks and balances. How does a council, or an individual tribal council that deals directly with enrollments, how do we safeguard the membership from being backwards, what Michael said, of disenrolling people? So these are the things that's also part of this discussion. If we get in there and we have a tribal council in the future that wants to disenroll families, how do we safeguard that? So these are the things that we want to look at first before we initiate what our delegations want to do. So it's important to go to the delegation meetings and find out and I think that they have a Facebook page, I think, and they meet at least, I think, once a month for sure. So it'd be good, and they do have a Zoom link, so you can hop on your phone and listen to the delegates and see because they're out there trying to reach out to all the band members and get their opinions on everything, on what we're doing at the TEC table. So there's things out there that it's important that, like yourself, that what you just talked about, the Canadian blood is, something like you said, Anishinaabe, that's something that, we all understand that, and I think that's important that we recognize that too, because I say it quite a bit too about all of us being the first people. So it's good. I'm glad to hear that from you. So
Real quick, just adding real quick is that, the secretary election was changing the constitution and amending it. That's what the secretary election would do. If we remove the secretary election, it would be, I would say, it would take away those challenges that we have of either amending the constitution or changing the constitution. There was talk about rewriting the whole constitution. Each tribe or each band would rewrite their own constitution, but that we really can't do that either. We already got that proven already. Irma already tried that, and that didn't go through. So at the table that day, we had one of the TEC members speak up and say, instead of trying to change the wheel, why don't we just fix the wheel?
All that is going to create chaos in fighting among our own reservations. I guarantee you that. I mean, that's just the way it is. We can't let go of that system.
No.
No way, No. Way I feel. But anyway, before you leave, close, I'd like to say one word or a few words. The way things are going, I believe that we all have the right.
Can I stop you just quick?
Sure.
Chairman, we're in executive session, so we're in executive session right now. We're in a break. We're in a break? Okay, all right. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, what I want to just say is, it comes to a point in time where we got to be good to ourselves and to our fellow people. Now, what I'm talking about is my son here. When are we going to open up the barriers for him to make a living? Now, he's been in business now 6 years. He's he's a guy that does so much for people, favors. It's just unreal what he does for people, but people don't realize that.